Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much. A couple of things I'd like to say as we get started. One is, I always like to set some guidelines. And the guidelines are set for you to get the best out of our time together. Guideline number one is always challenge the assumption of who you think you are. We tend to play too small. We are more than we think we are. We just don't know it. We don't see it because we're too close to ourselves. So you want to challenge those labels, those perceptions, those assumptions of who you think you are because you are more than that. And you want to entertain that this evening as we talk. Guideline number two is your success is my success. So as we work through today, we're here to help each other, as Ed mentioned. This is a collective effort. And I believe a lot in learning from each other. Another guideline is to really recognize that you're all very wise and that you all have your own answers. No one else has the answers for you. The answers are within you. We all have what I call is a unique composite of skills and talents that can be packaged into a service or a product to meet deeper needs in the marketplace. And we're going to talk about that today. That you are all unique. No one is like you. And I also believe that everyone has a purpose. That everyone has a purpose, that everyone has a calling, and everyone has work to do that's unique to who they are. And that sometimes life is a journey to recognizing that, to recognizing that purpose. So I hope you'll benefit from those guidelines. I also encourage you to take notes. And as we move through this evening, I'm going to mention some action steps that you might choose to take. And in your handout, does anyone not have a handout? Anyone not have one of those? On one of the pages here, there's a place to write down some action steps, your next steps. So these action steps could be steps that you take on yourself. They could be action steps that I recommend that you choose to take on. But by the end of the session, you're going to have about 4 or 5 action steps that you can begin to implement immediately based on what we talked about today. So any questions on anything we've talked about so far? Okay, my goals today, why are we here? There are 4 things that we're going to focus on today. One is to identify what makes you unique in the marketplace. What is your composite of unique skills and talents? And by the way, I believe our innate talents are our strongest talents. They are stronger than our education and our experience. What you do naturally, what just shows up in your presence, is your strongest skill. And often we don't value that skill or those skills. We value what we've been educated to, where we have experience. We don't value what we simply do innately. But those skills are very, very important. You're here and I'm here to tap your wisdom, knowledge, and experience to really uncover the real you. Not the you that's based on, again, your education or your experience or your labels or your assumptions or what other people think you are. Deep down, there's a part of you that's greater than all of these. It's really greater than all of these. To begin to diagram, we'll work on that, what makes you unique, and to learn how to match and leverage your uniqueness in the marketplace. Any questions on any of those points? Okay, before we go on to why you are here, I'd like to read something from my book. And I always like to mention that it took me 7 years to write this book, and that this is the 3rd edition. Or the 3rd, I shouldn't say 3rd edition, this is the 3rd rendition of this book. If you have a book in you, you one to write it. You really want to get your voice out there. More for you than for anyone else. Really for yourself. So this section is called You Are More Than You Imagine. Welcome to the first time in the history of the planet when you truly can choose what you want to be, what you want to do, what you want to know, and where you want to go. Life has never been easier, and because it's never been easier, life has never been more hard. We have a lot of choices in the marketplace. This is from a book called Visionary's Handbook, 9 Paradoxes That Will Shape the Future of Your Business. So let me read a bit. Take a minute to imagine being all you could be. Doing your work that is better than you ever thought possible, or doing work that's better than what you ever thought possible. You have no doubt that you are doing your life's work. You're leveraging your potential. You're feeling comfortable. You're feeling confident and self-assured. And by the way, you're thriving in the marketplace. You love your life and your work. There is flow and balance. You truly feel you are making a difference in the world and reaping financial rewards. The people you work with honor who you are and what you do, value your unique skills, validate your ideas, and together you create an environment where everyone learns and grows. So in this scenario, who are you being? What are you doing? How are you feeling? And are you living and working without a doubt? Just imagine. We are all of this and more. We are who we believe ourselves to be. And I'm going to repeat that. We are who we believe ourselves to be. We have within us more power and potential than we could imagine. But believing in ourselves is often not something we have learned to do. Have you ever been told you were great, precious, one of a kind? Maybe you were told the opposite, that you shouldn't think too highly of yourself, but that's selfish. So we maintain the status quo. We don't rock the boat. In doing this, we stifle our work potential and make excuses not to act. We play along with the current situation and hold on to what we have, limited as it might be. We follow the negative patterning dictating our life, dreading just a little bit more every day. We ask ourselves, who am I to think so highly of myself? What do I have to offer that's so unique? Even if I knew my potential, could I live up to it? Could I handle the responsibility it might bring? Do I dare even try? So we stay stagnant, uncomfortable, but safe, so we think. For if we choose to imagine and act on this power, this potential, everything will feel like it's coming unglued. Life will change. Our current work may seem meaningless and our identity will be challenged. As we see the truth of ourselves, something inside knows it can no longer be ignored. We can no longer keep up the facade. The mask will evaporate. You will be left with only 2 choices, and that is to act or to hide. See, I believe as you're on this journey to finding your life's work, or work that I say really feeds your pocketbook and your soul, that you get to a point of, I call it a point of no return. You can't go back because you know too much about yourself. And you know what brings you joy. You know what brings you happiness. And you want more and more of that. So you can't go back. You have only a choice to move forward. But often moving forward feels like quicksand. It's like straddling the fence. You have 1 foot in the back and 1 foot behind you, but you know that's not comfortable. You want to move on. And you have 1 foot moving forward, but again, it feels like quicksand. You may feel that now. and you go through a period of, I call it no identity. It's a very uncomfortable place to be.
What did you say, period of what?
No
identity. I've been there many times. I've been there many times. So you need to keep going. You know, you need to keep moving forward. Just to say a little bit about me. I started my career teaching elementary education. You were saying you were an educator. And never fit, never quite fit. I did it for 5 years, and I knew it wasn't for me. It didn't last very long. I realized that I would look at every week, and when I started having more bad days than good days, I decided I had to leave. Because when you're having a bad day, the kids will make it worse. And you know that it's really time to go on. Luckily, I was able to then find a job as a teacher in the computer field, computerizing the multiple listing services, the real estate business. Fed my pocketbook, did not feed my soul. Really wore me thin. I swore I would never get another job in the computer field. But after being unemployed for 6 months, I did. I got a job with a Motorola subsidiary as a technical writer, a systems analyst. That's not me, but that's what I was labeled, and that's what I did. I became a technical writer. I did a good job at it. After doing that for a few years, luckily that company actually paid me 80% to get my master's degree. I did that at GW, wonderful program in human resource development. Went back to my boss and said, okay, I now want to do this work. And they said, okay, back to your old job. I said, no, thank you. So I left, started my first business. I've been one of those serial entrepreneurs for many, many years, and have created a number of different businesses. Back then it was human factors and office automation. So it's varied a lot. Until I really hit the wall. Found myself very depressed. Could hardly get out of bed. Didn't know what was up or what was down. But I knew what I was doing wasn't working. And it wasn't about buying another house or another car or a new boyfriend. You know, it wasn't about any of those things. It was about me. So I started doing a lot of soul searching. Read about every book I could get my hand on. Went to a lot of workshops in different parts of the world, looking for me. Just as some of you now are looking for you, which is a lifelong journey. You know, who are you? What makes you tick? What are you passionate about? What makes your heart sing? See, I do believe we all have a purpose. I have a business called International Purpose. And I believe the structure actually of jobs and employment are very outdated. Very outdated. Because they limit who can work, right? There are only a certain number of jobs, and those jobs are listed by job descriptions, and if you don't fit, then you have no chance. I believe in the concept of creating work, not finding a job, creating work. Now, creating work can end up looking like any number of things. It could look like a job, but it's a job where you had a part in creating. It could look like 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, I've had times where I've had 3 different part-time jobs to pay the bills. And they all served a different part of me. It could look like starting a business. It could look like a partnership. It could look like any number of things. The answer is not always a 9 to 5. In fact, it's often not a 9 to 5. I think we typically want more flexibility than that, or at least some people do want more flexibility than that. go on, but before I do, I want to find out why you're here. So on your handout, on the bottom of that first page, why are you here?
Are you turning these in?
I'm sorry?
Are you turning these in?
No. This will not be collected. You can write down anything you like. Why are you here? Write down, take a minute, take 30 seconds to write down why are you here, and then I'm going to ask a couple of you to share that with us. So as some of you are finishing up, I just want to say, by the way, that it's up to you to get the answer to why you're here. So you want to be looking for that answer, you want to be listening for that answer, you want to be thinking about the answer. So by the time you leave, you have an answer to why you're here. Anyone want to share why you're here?
To learn something new and just to find a new approach, to find something besides what I've been doing.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
I'll read what I wrote.
I'm sorry?
I'll read what I wrote.
Okay.
I'm here for answers and inspiration, to listen to you breathe and make myself focus and concentrate on my true purpose.
Here to turn a layoff into an opportunity.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Life is full of challenges and opportunity. I like to work from the belief that I have nothing to lose and I have a lot to gain. And I'm sure a lot of you are in that position. You have nothing to lose in this world, really. I mean, you may think you do, but in the end, you don't. We need to take more risk in the marketplace. Risk is like a muscle. The more you risk, the more you can risk. You want to exercise that risk muscle. You know, and I often give people a homework that says, do one thing every day that you're afraid to do. Do one thing, that's an action step if you want to take it on. Do one thing every day that you're afraid to do. Because we talk ourselves out of it, don't we? Yeah, I do it. I talk myself out of it. Someone else, why are you here?
Basically, I'm here to help me find my passion and to see how I can make an impact in my environment.
Oh, nice. When I think of passion, you know, people are usually motivated by two things. You want to know what they are? What motivates people to change? Pain or passion? Pain or passion motivates people to change. And when you think about passion, you know, you want to think about what do you long for? You know, what's missing in your life? What brings you joy? What makes you cry? What touches you deeply? Someone else, a couple more, why are you here? Yes.
Well, kind of on the same lines of, capitalizing on the layoff, I'm trying to market my reinvention of myself because I'm changing careers. So.
Great. Anyone else? You know, when I left teaching, I had never written a resume. You know, I went for my interview for my teaching job and I was hired on the spot. So I joined a group called Wider Opportunities for Women. Any of you ever heard of them? Wow, Wider Opportunities for Women. It was a career center. Still exists, just different form. And I loved the process so much that I became a volunteer. What I loved was finding out what made people tick in terms of work. That was my first realization of my passions. I'm intrigued by what makes people tick and what makes them unique in the marketplace, and how do we craft work from their uniqueness. See, I think work starts here. I know it does, in fact, not think. Work starts here. It doesn't start out here. But we haven't been taught that. You know, we've been told, look in the marketplace, see what the jobs are, what's paying well, get the degree, and go after it. Instead of looking here and saying, you know, what brings me joy? What do I do naturally? So therefore, if you turn the page, I have some questions that I'd like you to answer. And notice that Albert Einstein quote, some of you may know it: the significant problems we face today cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. The first thing that we need to change is mindset. A mental model of how we see ourselves, our beliefs, our assumptions, our perceptions. They are based in the past. They aren't based in the future of choice. I want you to begin to think about, what future do you want for yourself? And how do you have to think and act today to enable that future? What's the future you want? And then step back and say, well, what beliefs do I need to have in order to enable that future? What behaviors do I need to start demonstrating to enable that future? How do I need to change my thinking, my mindset, my mental model of how I see myself? So what I'd like you all to do is to take about 3-4 minutes and answer these questions. Any questions on what you're doing now? About 3 or 4 minutes and answer these questions. Yes, these 8 questions. Anything goes with your answers. Anything. thing you want to do is you want to look for patterns. Question. What keeps repeating itself over and over and over again? There are patterns in your life. There are patterns in what you know about yourself. You know, we're constantly being given signs and signals that we ignore because they don't fit the picture of who we think we are or should be or should have. But they are there. Like this one on what do others think you're good at. Where is that? I often ask my clients to interview 4 or 5 of their colleagues and ask them what they think you're good at. And then look at the patterns. Because again, other people often see our value before we do. So we don't get it. So look for the patterns. So take it like 30 seconds and circle any ongoing patterns, consistencies, repeated things that keep coming up and coming up for you. We're really being hit over the head with what our purpose is, but we don't see it.
Or we ignore it.
Or we ignore it, yeah, exactly. And we say, how do I make a living out of that?
Exactly.
Never gonna pay the bills. I'm gonna be a starving artist. Well, of course you are if you think you are. Of course you are. If that's your thinking, there are a lot of artists that aren't starving, but there are a heck of a lot of artists that are starving. That is a perpetuating belief system that needs to change. What causes us not to believe in ourselves?
Negativity.
Say more about that.
Not so much my own, but everybody else's. It'll tell you what you can't do. So I've been seeing all the time. You can't do that, whatever. Yeah.
Fear.
Fear.
Fear
Yeah.
because if you fear you can do it, and you're afraid of letting yourself down.
That could be. But fear is, fear is one of the major motivators in our world. We make most choices out of fear. Now, when I first realized that, I was a little startled. It's true. We make most decisions out of fear, out of lack, out of not enough, out of not good enough, never going to be good enough, never will have this or have that. False evidence appearing real. Have you ever heard that for fear? False evidence appearing real. Fear is an illusion. But fear has us by the neck, doesn't it? It has us by the neck. But it's an illusion. It's false evidence appearing real. What we fear usually does not happen. You are probably not going to be a bad lady or a bad man on the street. You aren't. But we do.
I think I try to kind of observe life, and I think it happens more when you're older. And I think it's because you have already experienced, you saw life, and you started to predict what could happen to you. And you go from your predictions because, for example, it's hard to find a job after 50. So you already kind of put a block on your road. But young people, they don't know life. It's why I guess they're successful, because they try more.
And this belief that it's hard to find a job after 50 or anything like that is a self-perpetuating belief. We create it because of our belief. It is not true. I hear a lot of people say discrimination, age discrimination. Well, if you believe it, you're going to create it for yourself. You are, guaranteed. You are. But if you go into a situation believing in yourself enough, having the confidence and the courage to really say who you are and what you can do and show the wisdom that you've gained, people are going to want you. It becomes very attractive. There's a book out called The Reinvention of Work by Matthew Fox. And he talks about the fact that we play too small and that our visions for ourselves are not large enough. And if you have a large vision, it becomes an internal motivator, meaning it motivates you, and it becomes an external attractor. It attracts other people towards you. Because they're going to say, wow, look at what this person is up to. That's exciting. I want to talk to them. I want to join their bandwagon. That's exciting. But we often don't have the courage, right? In my book, I talk about what are called the tools of the self. And the tools of the self are things like self-responsibility and self-discipline and self-awareness, self-assertiveness, that morph into, that give us self-esteem and self-respect. Those aren't guaranteed. You have to build those. And on the flip side, we have this thing called self-sabotage. We definitely do that one. We definitely sabotage ourselves without even knowing it. We sabotage ourselves. But you want to look at, are you self-aware, and to what extent are you self-aware? Was it easy for you to answer these questions? Or was it a struggle to answer these questions? Have you done the homework on you? Because that's where it starts. You do the homework on you first. What we want to do now is this thing I call running a test. Can't hurt might help. I do this all the time. Take a risk. Can't hurt might help. So, we want to look at using and leveraging as many of these attributes on the previous page as possible. The more of these, this composite of unique skills and talents that you can leverage, that you can look at, how do I take these and mold them into a service or a product that meets a deeper need in the marketplace? We're going to play with that. So I would like a volunteer. Who would like to volunteer and come up here in front of the room so we can brainstorm on their list of attributes from the previous page?
Which number is that? I can't remember. What attributes do you want to look at? Two? Number two? Is that what we're looking at? Attributes?
I think you should be all
We're looking at everything you wrote down here. The answers to the questions. And the patterns. Here.
I can do it, I guess.
Okay, you want to come up in the front of the room?
Maybe you guys can help me. That'd be cool.
Yep. And who would like to be, let's get your hand out. Who would like to be your scribe?
Yeah.
Who would like to write down what we talk about? Grab your hand up.
Okay. I left it blank for that one.
Okay, good. Who would like to scribe? Okay, thank you. So, briefly, Regine, tell us about what you wrote down for these questions,
Okay.
the answers, and tell us the patterns. So don't, you want to do this quickly.
I don't know the patterns, but I
Okay.
can tell you what I wrote.
Okay.
Number 1, I wrote talk, meet people, organize, present, design, exercise, and compete.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2, I wrote organization, being able to talk and relate to people, trying new things, looking for adventure.
Okay.
Okay. Number 3, successful in the past, project management, following protocol, even if I can agree with it, design, planning events, having fun. Oh, this is good. Having fun with the most unlikely people, and being simpatico.
Uh-huh.
4, what is this? I don't know, this is really weird, I don't know, maybe.
That's okay.
you can tell me.
No, cancel that.
Okay.
No judgment.
I'm honest, but yeah, here we are. Good at meeting people,
Uh-huh.
good at having people tell me everything. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, nice.
Good at style, good at design,
Ah.
good at presentation, mostly food and parties, and good at setup.
Ah,
Mhm.
wow.
And then, where am I, number 5?
Uh-huh.
Oh, travel everywhere and swim every day.
Oh, wonderful.
And then a few years to live, yeah, that was heavy duty.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Meet all the exciting and cool people
Oh.
that I dream about meeting. Get on it, contact them. Yeah, that's it.
Uh-huh.
And the number 7, this is number 7. This is kind of general. Making the world a better place.
Uh-huh.
Making people smile, making people open up. And that's it. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Great, thank you. Let's give her a hand of applause. Thank you. So, on the brainstorming page, you might want to write. What did you? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So how would you summarize what Regine,
Regine, R-E-G-I-N-E, Regine.
how would you summarize her unique skills and talents? What should she be leveraging? People skills? You want to write those down on that brainstorm? Organizational skills,
Event planner.
presentation,
An event planner.
event planner, her personality. She needs to sell her personality.
Maybe she should be like motivational speaker.
Look at you.
Yes, exactly. I could see that.
I love you already, thank you.
I can see you motivating others. You like to talk. You like to meet people. You're a good listener. You have good presentation skills. You might be a good coach. But you want to leverage your personality, Virginia. You're welcome. And that could turn into any number of things. So what did we just do?
We just created
Some
a
kind of
passionate
basket.
way of Regine to spend her time and to give to other people. A service, she's performing a service of selling her personality, which makes her very attractive to other people.
Right. It
Her
does.
interests do go along with that, I think.
Yeah, they do. Travel,
Yeah.
meeting new people, motivational speaker. Definitely. So where are you on time here? I want you to break down into twos. Let's see if this is gonna work or not.
Trees.
Okay. Let's pair up. I want you to share, just like Regine shared with me, with us, the key points that came up, where we've had repeating patterns, and to then share with that person what you hear from them. So find someone else in the room. You can have 2 minutes each. And I will tell you when 2 minutes is over, we need to talk fast and see what comes up. Please don't
Want me to start?
And then when I start getting into what we're going to do with you know, it's like, you know, you think of the catering, but then I don't want to do it. You know, I just want to talk to your friends. You do really know
reinvent myself as that kind of person.
From what I've heard, that's actually more effective than getting
Yes.
to then have the certification. And 50% of the certifications actually seem to work with
And part of it don't have now.
Yes.
There's a lot of jobs out there. My point is like, I'm trying to reinvent, restart myself, and how to go back to what it is. As well, we have experience in clearances, you know, so
now it's like there's so many
college
there
engineering and switched to communications because we got involved in student radio. So I'm good at talking to people.
the fear comes in.
Good at solving problems.
Exactly. That's what we're going to do on the side. Yeah. I think I just need somebody who's going to keep on
Solving issues, right? Situations. But I really
That's why you're doing with the character. Yeah, like I move all over the place. I go all over.
So I'm trying to find something
Where am I?
these courses and pass the certification for the first round. So I'm so glad that's what I'm trying to do is back in as a player kind of most because they think we make it more important to be decided, you know, because right, stuff writers do kind of back to
It would be
one of these things where you enjoy doing stuff and you get tired of it, you get away from the stuff you enjoy doing. Yes, exactly right. It's not so much I love it. Just the board. It wasn't. And also, take the problems home with you.
Do work, close the doors, go home.
Volunteer ever. But it's an easy way to sort of explore something. You're gonna go sign up I just kind of like,
It's kind of computing in general. Having a certification try to explain it. You're right.
Where's the teachers in the room? Where's the teacher?
I'm still talking. Partner talk, a little longer.
Yeah.
The teacher then.
So quickly, what are some ideas that came up for you or for the other person?
Yeah, right.
What are some ideas that came up? Anything goes.
I should be a community organizer.
Okay, great. Blogging. Pardon? Blogging. Blogging, huh? What else?
Andrew should be a personal shopper.
Personal shopper?
I'd like to figure out how to get paid to do all the traveling I want to do.
Why not? Exactly. Anyone else?
I would
Yes?
say leveraging your old skills with your new skills, you know.
Right.
Leveraging, combining and into a
Right.
sum. I mean, the sum is better than the individual parts, yeah.
Yes. Anything else?
It didn't come up with anything for me.
Keep looking.
Okay.
Never give up on yourself. Never, ever, ever give up on yourself. Regardless of what anyone says, regardless of how many walls you hit, never give up on yourself. Next couple pages. I want to speak to these, I'll give you an example of just myself. And as I give you an example of myself, I want you to think about yourself. Okay? First one, packaging your work or service for the marketplace. Number one, the form of work that you are most passionate about. My background's education. Education, human resource development. I'm passionate about working with people. I'm passionate about teaching, workshops, group work, coaching. That's the form that my work takes. I'm a coach, but I'm not a certified coach. But I've been coaching long before most coaches have been out there coaching. It's something I do naturally. I love running workshops. I love running retreats. So I know that about myself. You need to know those things about yourself. What do you love to do? And if you don't know them now, you want to search. You want to look for them. Your education or work history. A form that is known in the marketplace. What form can your work take that people know about, like the public speaking or the blogging? And also look at where are their needs in the market? Where are there the deeper needs in the marketplace? Not surface needs. We aren't playing on the surface here. What are the deeper needs in the marketplace that no one else has actually found yet? There are a lot of deep needs in the marketplace, and they're often now emotional. What's causing us problems in the world? I think a lot of it is a lack of emotional intelligence. There's a great need in the world to look at how do we become more emotionally intelligent? How do we become more mindful, more conscious of who we are as who we are? I totally believe in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We are all reaching for self-actualization. And you know, beyond Maslow's self-actualization, there's this rung called transcendence, meaning where you help others actualize. That's my work, is helping others actualize who they are. And is it needed? Yes. You know, I've never seen someone talk about their purpose that's not needed in the world. Never, ever. Never, ever. What you're being called to do is needed in the world. The only one that can stop you is you. Truly. Break your work down to its smallest parts. The audience you plan to focus on. You know, we need to focus on an audience that's our ideal audience. Don't go for anything less. Who is that ideal, I call it the ideal client profile. Who is that ideal audience for you? And that ideal audience, if you look at that next part, marketing and selling your services, is number one, people who believe what you believe. You don't need to convince them. You want to go after a market where people who believe what you believe. I do a lot of work right now in the international development sector. I love it. I don't have a background in international development. I have a calling to work in international development. I can see things in that sector that others don't see because I don't have a background. I'm an anomaly in that area. And there are people that are beginning to realize that there are some changes that are needed. We've spent a lot of money on international development work overseas that have gone for naught. The U.S. ranks 23rd out of 25 countries in the impact of their foreign aid. That's pretty pathetic. Something has to change. The model has to change. That's my work.
It's a tough sales pitch.
It's a tough sales pitch.
So how do you get somebody to buy into that vision when all they want is, you have no experience in doing that? We appreciate your energy, your interest, but you are totally unqualified for the position.
Now.
Right, you are, what can you do tomorrow?
I used to get that. I used to get that about 5 years ago.
That's good, because I'm getting it today.
Yeah. I
So-
used to get that. But I stuck it out. I did some volunteer work overseas. I was willing to go and work in Afghanistan. I do some work in Afghanistan right now. I did some work in Egypt. I was willing to put myself on the line to prove myself that I could do this and that I'm very good at doing this and that I can make a difference in this community.
Because you have good people skills too. That's your thing. You have good people skills.
Well, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
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 And so I go after people who believe what I believe. There are hundreds of international development organizations in Washington, D.C. There's a small handful of who believe what I believe. I go after them. talk to everyone I can on the executive board. I challenge them. See, I have to have the nerve and the confidence to show them what I know and who I am and what I stand for. Some will take it on, others won't take it on. Everyone is not my client. I used to believe everyone was my client. Wrong. A lot of people that start small businesses do that. They believe everyone is a client. No. You have a very small niche out there. Who believes what you believe? And you need to know what you believe. You need to know what you believe to then look at where are the others that believe what you believe. And how do you approach them? How do you start showing up in their world and going to their professional functions and talking to them and talking to their colleagues and learning the language. When I first started doing international development work, it was like Greek to me. I didn't know that language at all. I persisted.
But what you're saying is limited to a service, not a product. You have
It's
a
a
product, it's a service that you're offering, but if you have a product, you can reach anybody. A product that it's needed, like majority.
I don't know if you could reach anyone.
Well, there are some products that steal everybody, yeah.
Some, yeah. But, you're a little back here, what was I gonna say? I'll think of it. So, I'm sorry.
That's where you left with my book. People who believe what you believe, that's the market.
Right. Marketing and selling your work. You need to know how to sell. Sell is not a dirty word. Selling is not a dirty word. You need to know how to sell yourself. Educate your potential market. See, often people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know what they need. They really don't. They know they're stuck, but they have no idea how to get out of that stuckness. No idea. And if you can bring some insight because you're an outsider, there's a value to being an outsider. But you need to wiggle yourself in to at least sort of speak their language. And you need to also show them that you really care. You need to show them that you really care. And that you really do want to make a difference. And that you're on their side. And that you're there to help. You're there to help them. Speak their language. Match to what they value. Identify who has the greatest passion or pain. Those are the motivators, passion or pain. There are a lot of people, organizations in a lot of pain these days. In the international development arena, money is being cut off. USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, decreasing its funds, not increasing its funds. So part of my strategy is to look at agencies outside of the U.S. Like the UK, DFID, right? Australia. There are many countries that are more open-minded, to be honest, than we are right now in terms of international development.
But it has been all the time like that.
I'm sorry?
It has been all the time like that.
Yes,
But
it
the
has.
audience has been more open and
Yes, it has.
like I have been working in development and I never ever have gotten a job with an American organization because I have to work for Europeans. And now I am different.
The work I have in Afghanistan is actually with the Dutch government, of all places, who would have thought. But they've been in Afghanistan working to help the agricultural industry for many years. And if they want to hire me, I'll say yes, sure. I'll say yes. It's wonderful work. Your next steps. I want you to all have a couple action steps for yourself. So as you're writing these down, let's talk about them. What are your action steps? What are you going to do with what we talked about? I always allow myself to give homework having come from being a teacher. Once a teacher, always a teacher. You know, I'm sure some of you probably already take me as, he was a teacher. What are your action steps? Don't leave with the blank page here, please. You're not serving yourself if you leave with a blank page. What are you going to do differently? What's your homework? Even if it's not to give up on yourself. You know, the opposite of fear is what? It's love. I have a technique I use, I call it falling in love with my client's potential. I fall in love with what's possible in people's lives. What can you fall in love with that could really help someone else? What are you that passionate about? Now, I believe in human nature. I believe in the goodness of people and what's possible. So what can you fall in love with?
About things that can change the client's life very much, or business, the way they do things, you know, saving them money, which is to keep their business going, I guess.
Right. And how do you do that in such a passionate way that they get it?
You do it just like you're doing it for yourself. Like you're repairing something in your house. You want to do it the same way that you're going to do it in your house for your client. It's very much having that integrity.
And you throw in
love
some
for it.
caring on the side.
Yeah, well, it is, yeah.
And some appreciation,
Mhm.
a lot of thank yous, and the people buy you in the end.
Correct. People pay for your service, not for your knowledge very much. That's what they pay for. Not for the hours that you're spending there performing the work. They are willing to pay more for your knowledge and how you can do things better.
And something else is, they also pay for your wisdom. I believe we're all very wise. We know more than we think. You need to get in touch with your wisdom. And that is, what's the truth? The truth. Wisdom is the truth. Wisdom is intuition. Wisdom is gut. That could be an action step. You keep asking yourself questions. You keep looking at what makes me wise. What do I know that others don't know? What do I know deep inside of me that I know is true, and maybe I've been afraid to talk about it, afraid to rock the boat, but I know it's true. I'd like to have a couple people talk about what they're going to act on.
I came late, I'm sorry, but I don't know if anybody of you own a business or not, or they're just looking to start a business.
Does anyone here own a business?
Anybody here owns a business?
I'd like to start one.
Okay. Good.
Janine, can I put you on the line and ask you what you wrote down, one thing you wrote down?
Okay. Some of the actions I hope to be taking in the future would be to pray and meditate about which direction to go into and celebrate small steps that I may take along the way and realize it's a process. This is not an event, it's a process. And hopefully, as long as I keep breathing, I will try to get in touch with what really makes me most passionate in the world. I know that it does relate in part to social justice. Right. And I personally find the best time to do that type of interior work is first thing in the morning. And the most fruitful time. Or these days, I wake up several times during the night, and so I have many opportunities before 8 a.m. to do this kind of work.
How many of you meditate? And why? Why do you meditate? Why do you meditate?
Peace. Helpful to just breathe.
Yeah. Someone else, why do you meditate?
To shut my mind up because it's constantly talking some nonsense.
To quiet that mind. Anyone else? Why do you meditate? I get insights when I meditate. When I quiet my mind. My mind can be crazy sometimes, just crazy. So I want to end by just reading you something. Work as an evolutionary path. Work and business are not what we think. They're not ways to make a living or a name for ourselves. This definition served as an antiquated notion of business, a model based on control over others and profit at the expense of goodwill. These are new times. A new consciousness is asking us to be more responsible for ourselves, the work we do, and the planet we live on. In return, we have an opportunity to create the future of choice, a future that will yield life and work beyond what we can now imagine. Newly defined work and business are forms for personal and professional evolution. They are a means of self-actualization and beyond. Now is the time for transcendence when we can help others actualize themselves. Work is not an outer referencing of what the marketplace will bear, but an inner referencing of our unique purpose, molded and packaged for the marketplace to buy. I've never encountered someone with a purpose that was not dearly needed in the world. We need to redefine work. Work does not start out here. Work starts in here. So I want to thank you all for coming and questions. I don't have much time for questions. If you'd like a book,
Yeah, we're going to wrap up and then people close off. But again, thank you, Patricia, just for challenging us to do that internal introspection. You know, we look for our purpose in life, and we just have a little token of our appreciation, and I'd like to give you that. Thank you. Just